Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
Hello, Josh, my friend. Now, if it's bad video quality and decent enough audio, it must mean that we're reacting to something later on in the old United Kingdom. Now, that is not to say that Horizon Forbidden West gameplay trailer, 14 minutes of it, has just debuted and we just watched it. So rather than talk to each other before hitting the record button, hit the old button, and I've got some notes that I've scribbled down. Josh Brown, what's your thoughts on Horizon Forbidden West?
I really enjoyed it, Scott Tilford. You know what? It took some winning over, to be honest. When it first came on, I thought, all right, this is more Horizon, which isn't a bad thing. That's really good. And then by the end, I thought, when can I buy this? Can I buy this right now? Is it available tomorrow? Is it not? Sadly, give me a date, please. Yeah. Overall, I thought it was a very strong showing. It was very much the evolution of the first game, but that's not a bad thing. And I thought it did look spectacular for a cross-generation release. What about you?
That's the thing. So at the very end, they said, like, it's a PlayStation exclusive, and they still showed the PS5 sitting next to the PS4 Pro. The thing that made me go, oh God, I just need to play this, is when she did the charged Street Fighter style finisher on that dude.
Same.
When I was just like, yeah, give me more cinematic cutaway finishes in everything, really, especially in open world action games. Because at the very beginning, you sort of had this like really like big old graphical punch. Like, look how luscious this world is. I always love the whole post-apocalypse thing nature's tried to reclaim and everything like that, which obviously they had in the 2017 one. But this feels like, way more nature, way more bloom effects, way more foliage left, right, and center. It was really cool. I did go, oh God, tall grass when she was hiding in the tall grass. Because what else are you going to do? But I guess at the same time, I did note down that they are building this sort of visual language of, red is hiding, yellow is handhold, and work your way through stuff. So I did sort of go, oh God, tall grass. But you did do a stealth kill, a couple of stealth kills. And then combat-wise, the humans have weak spots now, which is very like the way you would take them down, take down the beasts in the 2017 one. And I like the idea of fleshing out the human side of things. When that dude came out with a big old hammer, very dark, well, the go-to was going to be Dark Souls, but in terms of just the camera locking behind her as she dodged out the way of it, I thought that was kind of cool, sort of locking you into like a melee exchange with someone. That stuff was cool. But yeah, I mean, in general, the only negative I have, just to get it out the way, is when she was climbing the pillars and all the handholds lit up yellow, which I know if I run down the only negatives from Zero Dawn, it was that it was too obvious where you could and couldn't go. And I know to a lot of people, the verticality or the lack of verticality in that game was one of the only negatives. So for them to almost double down on it and highlight those things, make them bright yellow, so it's just like you will climb exactly here over and over and over again. That was the only thing where I was like, oh, I kind of wish you guys did a more freeform Immortals Breath of the Wild style climbing thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've complained about this in regards to open world games in the past. What did kind of make me more optimistic about this version of it is that in like the final send-off, when you had the developers and the executives kind of like talking about the new features, they mentioned that, when you press that focus button and you get these highlights, it feels like there's going to be way more of them than there were in the first game. So hopefully, even though you are, railroaded down specific climbing paths, hopefully there are more options in any given area. So you're not just, there's not only one way out of a specific combat zone. Maybe you could climb here, maybe you could climb there, jump off, whatever. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't mind these sign-posted yellow handles, as long as it's not kind of, for me, for as much as I love God of War 2018, I thought the climbing sections in that were perhaps some of the most
it's very
mundane.
Specific.
Yeah, it's very specific. It's very kind of rigid. And I hope this loosens up a little bit and does give you more options in the actual thing. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like when Aloy jumped into the tall grass, I immediately thought of you because I know how much of a pet peeve that is with you in any game. And I was like, okay, here we go.
I mean, towards the end of it, when she was fighting there stands to be the robotic Oliphant from Lord of the Rings, when she was fighting that thing, and she hid behind that one little square of cement or whatever it was, waiting for it until you can get the weak spot. That at least is something. At least that's something that's a little bit different, slightly anyway. But what do you think of the rest of the stuff, like the way the combat was shown in the traversal? And there's got a grappling hook now. There's a little umbrella thing you can float on, sort of grow home style. That stuff looked really cool.
Well, funnily enough, Scott, considering how often we disagree on things, we both popped at the exact same moment, and I think the exact same moment won us over, and that was the melee combat where Aloy goes into this kind of like souped up charge attack.
Whatever that thing is.
Yeah. Whacks up that dude as well, gives him a little bow and arrow. And I enjoyed the melee combat in the first game enough, and I like that they've incorporated it way more. It seems like you've got combos, you've got charge attacks, you can jump off, combine it with your other bits of arsenal a little bit more. And I thought, it was... At first, I thought it was potentially a mistake to forefront so much human combat, but when they got into it and showed how they've evolved it, and like you said, included more elements of the machine combat from the first game, like you said, with weak spots, with different armor, you're thinking more tactically about it. I was like, okay, you've completely evolved on what you had before, and I was excited to experience that for myself. I'm excited to get in those human conflicts as much as I am getting into these Lord of the Rings-esque fights with these mechanical elephants towards the end. So that was a pleasant surprise. And like you said as well, Horizon Zero Dawn was no slouch when it came to graphics or even just general presentation. Sorry, my light's gone off. My light, I say that. It's my television. It's not a real light. It wasn't a slouch in terms of graphics, but this had like a more tropical look. It was way more kind of, sea-based. I love the underwater effects. I don't know if you're going to get that, but like the sense of verticality, the best parts of the first game for me was when you were doing those really tall climbs, or you were climbing on those big machines that act as the towers essentially. And when Aloy jumps into the water, I thought that looked next gen to me. I thought that was lush, and that hopefully will add an extra dimension to traversal that wasn't really there. Do
you know what that underwater bit reminded me of, Josh Brown, that you won't know? It's Ori in it. It's Ori in the Will of the Wisps, that, mate. It's full on underwater, lots of colours, lots of little glowing lads. I was loving it.
Here you go. When this eventually comes out and you say, oh, Josh, have you played Ori yet? I'll just go, well, I don't need to because I've played Horizon Forbidden West.
That's what all the Sony people will be saying. But that thing, considering that, when they announced Forbidden West, one of the first things they showed was Aloy going underwater. When she did it in the gameplay thing, I was like, oh, that looks gorgeous. I like the rebreather thing that she has, because it looks like you can just stay underwater for as long as you want. They have an underwater version of the red, you can hide in the tall grass underwater if you want to. And there's that too. And one of the alligator things went by her and stuff. But yeah, in terms of the enemy variety, like you said, they showed a lot of the human stuff, but they did show a couple of new breeds. I forget the names of them, but I like that they were, like, obviously in the Horizon Zero Dawn, it was like, robotic dinosaurs. But I like that in the new one, it's still robo dinosaurs, but you do have like a robo elephant. And I love that on the dinosaur side, they kind of have feathers. They've kind of got this like bird-like style thing, like bringing in the latest scientific findings to make them look like that.
I'm pleased you mentioned that, because when I was watching it, I was thinking, was that in the original and I just forgot about it? Because I was like, that's a cool addition if they have added it in. I love the way that they've evolved in that way. I thought all the stuff with the machines looked really cool, even though you had mounts in the original game. It sounds like they're going to take a much more prominent role in this one. They mentioned at the very end that you're going to use them to get around the world much more, like much quicker and stuff. And I thought that was neat. I loved it when you went into the boss fight when Aloy was on the back of one and you're firing out spears and stuff from that. I thought that was cool. I was really impressed generally with the amount of traversal options. I popped a few times during the gameplay. One of them was when we got that combo move. One of them was when she pulled out the glider, the shield glider thing.
Yes.
The shield umbrella, I think they called it, and I thought that looked really neat as well, and that hopefully again will add an extra wrinkle. I'm much more optimistic than I thought it was going to be. I knew I was going to like it. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I enjoyed Horizon. I enjoyed the first trailer for this, but I didn't expect to be kind of as giddy as I am. Maybe it's because it's late and we haven't done one of these in a while. That contributes to it. But in general, I thought it was a strong trailer.
I think it's ruddy lovely just seeing new stuff, just sort of seeing things that are made. I mean, then the thing is, obviously, there's going to be a PS4 version. My thoughts on that are that they'll just dial down the foliage, just dial down the amount of detail that's on screen to maintain the frame rate. I think PS4 people will be totally fine. But looking at it, just knowing that something is being built at least on the PS5 in some version on the next generation hardware, that's the thing that I just want to see way more of. Speaking tactically though of the combat stuff, one of my favorite memories of the original is realizing that you can shoot off like cannons off one of the other animals and then pick it up, turn back around, finish off this animal or one of the other goons or enemies or whatever with this thing that you just got from this other creature that you were fighting. And she does that in this trailer, so I kind of hope that's a bigger part of the combat. Like maybe there are certain mounted weapons you can only get while you're on top of something, or maybe, you have to aim for a specific part of an animal to free up a cannon or free up some sort of machine gun and then use that on something else. I kind of want to bring in a little bit of the Doom combat chess, where you're sort of strategically thinking, well, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this and do this. Because I love Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, I adore that game. I love the lore and everything else. And I love that they're fleshing out everything. Like, I mean, it was a hell of a statement in terms of a new IP. And then for Guerrilla as well, to sort of go from Killzone to that. So I kind of hope they're just fleshing it all out. It's been a long time since we've had an update. So, I mean, yeah, that side of it I thought was is the most promising. I hope they do more with it.
Definitely. I mean, it's funny you mentioned that thing specifically about taking the weapons of enemies, because while that is, incredibly cool in my opinion, in the first game, once I figured that out, that's actually how I defeated most of the monsters towards the end of the game. And that's when the game kind of lost a little bit of variety for me, because it kind of lost the combat chess, because to defeat the big machines, that was my tactic every time, because it was the most efficient one. And going into this game, I hope that you don't have a optimum way through fights. That might sound daft, but I hope it's not a case of if you do this one tactic, you will win every time. I like the variety. I like the previous hours when I had to swap through my weapons, lay down traps, really experiment with my arsenal. Get some tripwires going. One of my favorite gaming moments of all time is when I ushered a herd into one of those tripwires for the first time. And I want more of that in this. I want that variety. And yes, of course, I want that to include getting off weapons from the machines themselves, because I thought it looked cool as hell when it was just kind of in the sand. And yeah, I really hope that they just kind of like bring that to the next game in kind of like, a much bigger way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I love is that when that giant creature went down at the end, it gave me the Monster Hunter vibes, where I was like, because it's literally a creature made of loot. Like, it's just sort of, if you flesh that side of it out, then every time you bring something down, the bigger it is, the better the loot. And obviously in the Horizon context, it's literally made of components that you can then use for something else. And that's a whole wing of the game that they can like flesh out and encourage you to go and, seek down specific species and breeds and everything. But yeah, I thought that side of it was incredibly promising.
Well, you mentioned something just before then about how, back in 2017 when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, it was such a statement, not only for Guerrilla Games, but for Sony as like a publisher. They're known for their great exclusives now, but back then they were coming out of the PS3 era. This was one of their first big new IPs, and obviously it was a smash hit. But it benefited so much from being this first-party exclusive open world RPG. Like, there were very few of those at the time. Yeah. It was one of the first to really do it in the Sony stable. Now, 4 years on, we've had a lot of those. We've had Days Gone come out. We've had stuff like The Last of Us, obviously not an open world game, but incorporate, wide linear elements, take on a bigger scope and stuff. So I was always not worried, but wondering what they would have to offer to be more than just the first at something, as to how they would continue to make a name for themselves in amongst all of these other games. And this was kind of what I needed to have confidence in that, to have confidence that it wasn't just going to be another one, but that they were going to take what they had the first time around, and at least in some areas, except the tall grass, innovate on what they had. And like I said before, bring new dimensions with the human combat, bring new dimensions with the underwater stuff, what looks like added verticality to the open world. We didn't get to see much of that, sadly. But yeah, I thought that was really promising overall, that it doesn't look like it's going to rest on its laurels in the way that it could have.
Yeah, totally. I mean, especially in terms of the verticality stuff, the bit when she's escaping from the boss and she ziplines straight up out of the frame, that's almost like an Assassin's Creed Syndicate type thing, where it's just sort of like look for the hood option and then use that to get out, or Batman Arkham style, to get you out of the way of something. One thing to end on is the thing that they end on, which is the storm. They sort of like, she finds this component, or the dude that she rescues has this component, brings up this big sort of like hologram map thing. They're obviously looking for something. She must be looking for some sort of answers or whatever it is. Maybe there's more that Sobek left behind. And then, as she zooms into the map to their current location, they see a storm on the map itself, look up, and the storm is manifesting above them. And I think she says something like, "We knew it was coming." What do you think they're doing in regards to that? What do you want them to flesh out? Because one of the biggest potentially hurdles for them to overcome is that Horizon Zero Dawn answered every question that lore had in terms of how everything started. The only thing that was left behind was what Silence was doing. And so maybe that's what he's been doing. But for the most part, Zero Dawn is a pretty full package.
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously they had that like final tease. And it's been, it's funny, it's been so long since I played that game that watching this, it made me want to go back and replay it, so I have a refresher just in time for it. But they mentioned something interesting just after the trailer ended, and they kind of elaborated on that a touch, and they mentioned about how that red light, they said the world is being enveloped by this red light, which is in the storm, and that's like apparently some kind of blight, which is essentially corrupting the entire area, making it decay, ruining the beauty that we saw in the other part of the trailer, which isn't necessarily an original idea, especially when it comes to apocalyptic fiction, but it's an idea that I really like. I love the idea, I've said that way too many times, I love the idea that you're going through this like gorgeous open world and it's decaying all around you, it gives you an added element to fight for. So I'm really interested to see what they do with that and how they kind of overcome how that story is being presented before, especially in video games, and whether or not they do anything to kind of elaborate on it and make it unique to Horizon's world. Because, for me, when it comes to Horizon, it does a lot of stuff that other games have done, that other open world games have done, but it's all right because it filters it through such a unique world and through such a unique presentation and mythology that I'm okay with it. So hopefully when it comes to this Red Storm or whatever it is, they manage to do it in a really neat and original way. That's my hope, that it doesn't just become a kind of gimmick or a MacGuffin or something.
Just something where it's, this area is infected again. You've got to go clear it out like you would have in every other sort of like arbitrary open world thing. Yeah, I have pretty high hopes for the script writing side of things because I didn't expect the level of just sheer philosophical breakdowns of humanity's biggest mistakes, our reliance on technology, all these different comments that Zero Dawn makes about the way that humanity could go. I loved all that stuff. Like Horizon Zero Dawn has low-key one of the best lores in gaming. Like I feel like it doesn't get held up anywhere near as much as it should, and delving into all those different codex-style entries and the reality of where that story goes and the sort of philosophical questions it poses, I love it. And so I'm kind of like, if they're going to go down that route again, but front-load it with nature stuff and make this big comment on, like the environment and how the state of the world and maybe global warming adjacent conversations and things like that, then maybe that's a way for them to go that gives the sequel that level of depth again. All round though, super quick final thoughts, Mr. Josh Brown. Where are you right now? What do you want to see going forward? What do you want them to show next, or would you rather they hold off and then drop the full product?
I want to see more of the open world stuff. This was a very vertical, slicey trailer, I thought. It was very kind of scripted. It was very linear, which is to be expected from a first look. But I want to see how all of this stuff functions within the sandbox they've created. I think that's the next step. But ultimately, I'm kind of sold. I want to see a bit more about the story, see a bit more about what the villain's going to do. But my friend, there was a moment in this trailer where Aloy threw an explosive spear on the top of a Lord of the Rings style mechanical elephant, and then the boys inside that elephant went flying over the top, and I thought, I'm in. I don't care about the story, I don't care about anything else you've got mythological wise. You've got boys falling out of elephants, and that's
just give me more ragdoll physics in everything. Yeah. Like, just why are they not like Rockstar hybridized it? I'm gonna go on a tangent for a very quick second. Rockstar put so much money into their Rage engine, the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, so they could still do, and Euphoria as well, pointing at you. Yeah. They did the Euphoria stuff on the Force Unleashed side of things, and that was brilliant. It hybridized ragdoll physics with a little bit of animation in there, so it doesn't get too crazy like Hitman 2 did, the original Hitman 2. Put ragdoll stuff back in everything. It's hilarious and always fun, as is proven by the boys going head over heels on the old mechanical elephant. So what more could you want? But so let us know what you think down in the comments below. If you've seen Horizon Forbidden West gameplay demo, you're looking forward to it, what do you want to see from the world, and what do you think of what they showed off so far? For now though, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.